Let's meet someone who has never been afraid to speak his mind. AFL legend, media maverick, and controversy magnet. I'm Kate Save. The Inspired CEO starts now. Welcome to The Inspired CEO, where each episode we explore the innovative wellness practices that are driving success and longevity in the modern business world. In this interview, we speak with Sam Newman, an AFL Hall of Fame media personality and outspoken commentator. He's played 300 games for Geelong before transitioning to a high-profile media career, best known for being on the Footy Show from 1994 to 2018. He now hosts a popular podcast, You Cannot Be Serious, continuing to speak conversation with his candid and often very controversial views. So welcome, Sam.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Not at all intimidating having you in here.
Well, no, you said I speak my mind. I'm afraid to speak my mind here in your company, Kate.
Well,
got me on the ropes to start with.
Well, deep breath. We'll be.
Tense up. Here we go.
So, tell me about your childhood. I'd love to know a little bit about where you started.
Well, where did I start?
Before Geelong Grammar.
Yeah, I was born in Geelong.
Yes.
And my father was a teacher at Geelong Grammar, so I moved out to the campus out there as an infant, and I spent my whole schooling life at the kindergarten there, the school in Geelong called Bostock, then the junior school at the campus, then the senior school. I went to Timbertop, that retreat up in the mountains near near Mount Buller. And I left school in 1963, having spent my whole career, my whole schooling life as a boarder, living on the campus with my mother and father and two elder sisters.
How much older are they?
My youngest sister is 10 years older than me, and my oldest sister is 12 years older than me.
So, did you get in trouble at school?
A little. I wasn't. I'm only partially educated, Kate. I was
you
more.
Use the biggest words I've ever seen. Yes.
Yeah, I wasn't scholastically inspired to do much, but I was interested in all the sport and activities there. Did I get into trouble? I think I was caught smoking once up a tree on one of the lead-in roads to the school, and it was sprung by someone and got thrashed to within an inch of my life. In those days when you could cane people, the masters, now you'd sue them and they'd go to jail, but no, we were beaten regularly. No, we weren't beaten regularly, but the corporal punishment was the name of the game if you transgressed, Kate.
Yes, that makes sense. So then you started footy, and apparently you were spectacular from day one. So you kicked something like 20 goals when you were scouted.
When I scouted. When I scouted, the then coach, a man called Bob Davis, came out to the school, and I'd just finished playing a game against another school from Melbourne. I'd kicked 18 goals at centre half forward, and which was fortuitous because he'd come out to ask if I'd come in and train with Geelong. Yeah. And so that was a good introduction. He said, 18 goals you've kicked. Someone told him that. And so I went in and played the last three reserves games from school, because you had to play 3 games to qualify to play in the finals, the reserves finals. So I did that from school, and then I left school and started proper with Geelong in 1964.
And you started just to get your jumper, I heard.
My sign-on fee today, people get signed on for $500,000 and given condominiums and cars. I got my great hero, still to this day a hero of mine, the great Graham Polly Farmer, an Indigenous man who was the best player I ever saw, and I was given one of his training jumpers with number 5 on the back of it as a sign-on fee to get me to go and play for Geelong.
Wow, there you go. So you were definitely known as one of the best ruckmen ever. And I've watched some of the footage and you were absolutely pommeled there once. And
Yes.
your mum, was it your mum who told you
Yes.
not to show fear or pain on the ground? So you stood up, and then the moment that the other player ran off, you collapsed and you're asked if you're okay, and you said you thought he tried to perhaps kill you.
Yes, no, my mother would never have told me not to. She was just when I say just, she was just the epitome of, she was a housewife and she looked after my father, who was a teacher at the school, and that was a game out at Waverley, the now defunct Waverley ground. This was a final against Richmond, and a friend of mine called Neil Baum, brutal, savage man on the field, but a pussycat off it. Had a centre bounce, the ball bounced over towards where I was, and he ran right through me and broke two of my ribs with his knee. And someone said, no, I just thought, don't show that he's hurt me. And as he ran past, I said, I reckon you might be able to kill me if you keep doing this. And he went, and as soon as he turned his back and ran down the ground, I dropped to my knees. I don't know if you've ever had broken ribs, Kate.
No, I haven't.
Nothing you can do about it. You can't breathe. You can't. I'm not sure if I stayed on the ground. I probably didn't.
Hopefully not, because you may have collapsed a lung under there.
I might have.
Yeah. And so your football career, you've won lots of awards, lots of highlights. Tell me, what moment stood out for you the most?
Well, that's a very good question, Kate. I played in a lot of final. I mean, I've never played in a grand final. I lost my kidney, had it ruptured in the first semi-final in 1967, so missed the only opportunity I had to play in a grand final in 67 when Geelong played Richmond, but I was in hospital. I lost my kidney. And but playing in front of... I played in 15, 16 finals in front of 90 and 100,000 people. So that was, but the great thing I enjoyed about playing football was the competitiveness of it, playing against the people you were pitted against. Yes. That's what I enjoyed the most.
The challenge.
The challenge. That's, you can use that in life if you like. The challenge of living, the challenge of getting on with people, the challenge of being successful. Not that I'm a survivor. I'm not saying I'm necessarily successful, but I've survived a lot of ups and downs. Absolutely. And I always say you've got to experience the downs in order to appreciate the ups. And so I'm a classic example of that. I've been broke once in my life when I've had not bankrupt, but had not 1 cent to my name because I backed someone at a bank. I backed someone's business and the business went broke, and the bank took my house and everything off me. But that's
what year was that?
That would be in 1980, just early 80s.
So before kids, because your eldest is 82, born 82?
Yes, 82, that'd be right. And I have a selective memory loss when it comes to that. Not my kids, when I went broke. I remember sitting in my house in Middle Park, which the bank took off me, I couldn't afford food. I used to, I know I'm not whinging, I'm not whinging at all. Because
no, but people need to know this. They think it's just the high life. They don't know what happens in between.
So I, as they say, you can lie in the gutter face down and look at the drain, or you can lie on your back in the gutter and look at the stars. I'm not sure that I did either of those two things, but you either...
you felt like you're in the gutter. That's the moral of the
story.
I
was in the gutter, I was in the gutter, but I'm not now. So that's life, isn't it? Yeah. That's the evolving life that you live.
So you went on to commentating and then the Footy Show. So how many years in the Footy Show?
I was on the Footy Show for 25 years. Yes. It started in 93 and 94. Well, I think you read that thing there. I think it was 93 or 4. And it finished in 2018 or 19. And I stayed on for a couple of years after the Footy Show stopped on the Sunday Footy Show. And then I got, they said I got sacked off the Sunday Footy Show because I made a comment on a podcast I do called You Cannot Be Serious about someone. overseas, which was absolutely accurate.
Yes.
But they said it was unpalatable to say that about this person.
You've never been unpalatable before.
I've been unpalatable a few times, but I was just, it was about, and they said, oh, you shouldn't have said that. And I said, why? I was on a podcast and I was speaking absolutely accurately about this person who was no longer, who was deceased. So you can't libel or slander anyone that's dead. You just can't do that. So I said what I thought about it, and they said, oh, the sponsors have got a bit jumpy about, and this had nothing to do with the show that I was on, the football show.
It was your own show.
Yeah, it was my own show, and they said, oh, well, I said, well, that's up to you. And they said, oh, would you mind if you withdraw from the show? I said, not at all. If you'd like me to withdraw from the show, I'd be delighted. And they said, well, we'll honour your contract. I said, oh, that's mighty neighbourly of you. I said, you don't even have to do that if you don't want to. They said, oh, no, we do that. So there we are. So
there we are.
So there, you can see you can get into trouble just from having an opinion, even if it's got nothing to do with your employment.
There you go. Now that's in amongst everything else that you've been through. I think, you've been built up to cope with a lot. You've seen a lot, you've been through a lot. Now, one stunt that you did on the Footy Show left you with a bit of a medical condition. What was that one for the people who didn't see it? John Locko shared this with me. You jumped off a diving board.
Oh yeah, no. My role on the Footy Show was to be
outspoken?
Outspoken, but to be a bit diverse, a bit lateral, a bit obscure. So we had a couple of blokes, a couple of larger rotund boys who are very good friends of mine. A man called Brian Taylor, who calls the football now on the television, and a big friend of mine who played football for Geelong called Bill Brownless. They went and jumped off the 10-metre board at MSAC, and I said the next week, I said, you jumped, why didn't you dive off it? And they said, well, you go and dive off it. I said, I'll dive off it, having never dived before. I don't know if you've ever stood on the 10-metre board at MSAC.
No.
You might as well be standing on top of a mountain. You can't see. So I never dived before, so live on live. See, we did 25 years of television on the Footy Show live to air. No delay, no recording. And I often say, if we had recorded the show or it had been on delay, no one would ever know of the things that I had said or done because they would have been edited out or beeped.
True.
But if it goes live to air, you're stuck with it. So anyhow, I dived off the board and came in at 45 degrees and got a hernia out of it, ruptured my... just in the name of entertainment, Kate.
Up for the challenge, always up for the challenge.
Yeah, up for the challenge.
Born for the challenge.
Yeah, a thrill seeker.
Yeah, so in the last couple of years, though, you've done something a bit different. So most recently, you've taken a trip up the coast.
Yes, a friend of mine, Sue Stanley, who is a 3-time world aerobic champion, which has got nothing to do with why she came on the trip, but she lives down the road, down the river on the boulevard from me, and she's a friend of mine. I said, what are you doing with yourself? And she said, not a lot. I said, you wouldn't want to get in a boat and go up to far north Queensland on it, would you? She said, yeah, I'll be up for that. So off we set, having never taken the boat out of Port Phillip Bay. And we got it up there, and we had 6 months of the best time of my life. It was just fantastic going up there, and the two of us, and we worked out how to use the boat when it broke down, which was a hell of a lot of the time, and she navigated, and it was fantastic. And then we bought it back.
Yeah.
And so people said, and we documented every day what we did, and we've had 35 or 40 million views on it around the world from people not because they have no idea who we are, but they just liked seeing the warts and all journey of people who had no idea what they were doing, and they seemed to resonate with it. So
no agenda every day when you woke up?
No agenda, no, we didn't rehearse anything. Sue filmed it all on a camera.
Yeah.
And I said, turn the camera on. And I didn't say it like that. I said, turn the camera on. And so I said, now, today. And we just did it off the top of our head.
And no production crew?
No production crew, no editing, no planning, nothing. We did it. And so, as I say, it was extremely, was it successful? We had hell of a lot of people, and we had a lot of people communicated with us, and we sort of built up a whole community of friends, not only in Australia, but around the world, really.
It's amazing, and something that you actually thoroughly enjoyed. You could be yourself, completely unfiltered, no judgment.
Absolutely. We got away from the city we live in for a while, the city that... Well, now here's an opinion, Kate. You might want to put this on, but you're doing your best to resurrect the city by doing what you're doing. But this city here at the minute is, it's nearly fallen off the edge of the known world.
Yes. And
so we got away from the city, and we went up there. We had no stress, not that I have any stress back here, other than people having a go at me.
And, but I heard you enjoy that. You sit back.
Like it, I enjoy it. I just said the other day, we have a lot of very favourable comments in the podcast we do, but we have the people who just get enjoyment out of telling you who you are and what they think of you. And my response to that is, not that I get back to them, but occasionally I do. People say, you are a has-been and no one's interested in your opinion, and who do you think you are, and why don't you drop dead and go? And I say, sometimes it inspires me to say, thank you so much for watching or listening to us. I really appreciate it, because that's the irony of it. How would they know if we're boring and I don't like my opinion, unless you actually listen to me giving an opinion and thinking I'm boring? So
absolutely,
they sort of trip themselves up in the end.
Well, I've got a theory around this. I think if you had really aged, people wouldn't be as critical as you. The fact that you look fit and healthy and you enjoy your life is why they pick on you. So...
Well, they say, you're a wrinkled up old skeleton and a fossil, and they must sit behind their word process and work out, what do you think I can say that'll make this man annoyed? And the worse they get, the more I enjoy it, because it is just so illogical to say that about someone that you're actually listening to or watching. Why would you bother turning it on or listening?
So what's next? So you've done this big trip. What's next?
Well, inspired by the sort of success of what we do, I said to Suzanne, I said, what about we have a go? We couldn't take the boat. It's such a long way to take the boat up to Queensland and back every year. So I said, what about we go around Australia in either a caravan or a mobile home, and we'll do the same thing. So we have that on the drawing board. We are going to do that in maybe May.
Have you teed that up with anyone already?
We have. We had some people say they'd like to join us because they could see probably the value of what we were doing. It's a bit of a quid pro quo thing, but I don't know if I've just had my ankle operated on. I'm hoping that'll come good.
So, because people can't see this, you've got a cast all the way
people
up
can
and a
see
big
that now. There we are. Did you get that, Spike?
Look at the flexibility.
Well done. So I just need that to come good, which is a work in progress. 10 weeks should take us up to about May, and we'll have a crack at doing that. That's what we plan to do, Kate.
Sounds amazing.
And we'll take... we went up to far north Queensland, and we loaded up with your...
BeFit food.
We loaded up with BeFit food. You think I'm saying that for the occasion? I'm not. You will verify that. I came down, I said, I need a few boxes of your food, because I said to Sue Stanley, I said, I don't know if you can cook or not, but I tell you what, I'm going to do the cooking. You handle the navigation and everything else. I'll do the cooking. Don't ever come into the galley and turn any hot plate on or anything. So I lived on your food for a long time, and still have some of it that I got not long ago, and it's very tasty. And as I say, this is not a free ad for you, but it's very nice, BeFit food. And then I cooked. Sue caught some fish, and I cooked fish, and we had a fantastic time.
What was the biggest fish you caught out there?
I caught nothing. Sue caught Spanish mackerel, coral trout. And it was coral trout and Spanish mackerel, coral trout, and can't think of the other fish. Whitefish.
When did you get Rex on the boat?
Well, because we actually rang Rex on FaceTime a few times from the boat. Rex just sometimes he was travelling a bit slowly, but when he on his good days, he gave us some advice, which. Only for the effect of showing his face, because he is a world-class fisherman.
Yes.
And so I'm not a fisherman. No, I'm not. Sue caught some fish, and we ate it and filleted it, and I massacred it, filleting it. I had no idea, but no, we enjoyed it. And
so the road trip next, heading around Australia.
Yeah, that's what we plan to do, Kate.
Sounds incredible.
Yeah.
So, are you fully in retirement? Are you doing much?
Yeah, no, I do a podcast called You Cannot Be Serious, and
I know of that. I tune in all the time, and you have got an unbelievable following.
We have, and I try and interview. I just try and do an interview apart from the two segments. A friend of yours and mine, Don Scott, used to be on it.
Yes.
And Mike Sheehan used to be on it, the three of us, and then Don withdrew, and I do it with Wayne Carey now, and we speak about things that make the world go round.
Yeah.
And then I try and find people of interest to interview, which I got into trouble from. Why, I don't know. I interviewed a neo-Nazi, and they apparently I thought, I would like to interview a neo-Nazi, wondering what makes people like that tick. Well, no, that was off limits. You can't interview. You can only interview people that other people agree that you can interview.
But there's no rules. You can choose who you want.
It was just so childish and so pathetic, the hysteria that went around. I said I would interview the leader of Hamas. I'd interview Jeffrey Epstein if I could, Harvey Weinstein. I would interview anyone if they were people of interest. I'd like to speak to them, see what makes them tick.
Yeah.
This person I interviewed was no different, the neo-Nazi who'd been on every other television station. And I'm not sure why I was singled out, but then I was called a Nazi sympathiser. It was actually cringeworthy to see the media go into a meltdown over it. But there's an old saying.
You made the news again, though.
Well,
you're back in the headlines.
Well, God. There's an old saying, Kate, never thou protesteth too much. I've protested so much about this that I don't care anymore. I said, if you think I'm a Nazi, or I think they said, oh, you gave a platform to the Nazis. I said, really? I said, I did. I asked someone to come in to be interviewed. I haven't given anyone a platform. Anyhow, that's all right.
So, at the end of all of
so
this, what is your biggest learnings? You have a very, very fulfilled life.
Well, that's a good question. I have, since I finished playing football, I took that seriously, absolutely. Since I started in the media, the one thing that I made a point of doing is not taking yourself too seriously.
Yes.
Don't think you're a nuclear physicist. Don't try and tell people, just let them work. I have a pretty diverse reputation. A lot of people, I would be a very polarising person. I get asked to speak at a lot of functions. I speak at most of them. Several of them get cancelled when people say, why have you got him speaking? And that doesn't worry me, but your reputation is who people think you are. Your character is who you really are, so I have no problem with people having an opinion of me at all. If they don't know me or don't meet me, that's fine. They can think what they like. It doesn't affect me at all. But never take yourself too seriously, and try and be never dud. When I say never dud people, in the industry I was in, the media, the amount of people that try and stab you in the back, who go around you because they want to be stars. The beauty of the Footy Show we were on, the people that I was on with, the 5, 7 major people who were on every week, at no stage in 25 years did anyone try and one-upsmanship you, stick a knife in your back, want to take the limelight. When it was your turn, you do it, and when it was their turn, let them have their head. So none of those people, and that's why they're my friends. So your friends are unconditional. Yeah, you have a lot of acquaintances and a lot of friends, but unconditional friends are people not to take you to the cleaners.
Yeah,
for their own self-good.
And I'm sure, as all of your friends know, but not many of our viewers will know, that there is the Sam that's sitting here that's in the public face, and then there's the Sam who walks out the door who is just a big teddy bear, and you will hate that, but big pussycat, there we go.
People say, you did this and did that, and I say, yep. I did do that on the television and in the public life. That's probably why I could afford to buy a boat and go up to Queensland on it.
Yeah.
Happy to fall on my sword. If that's what they wanted me to do on the Footy Show, that's what I did. And
so you're 78 now, is that right?
79,
79.
Yeah, 80 this year. Yep.
Yeah.
People just go on and on about it, so it doesn't worry me at all. As I say,
it's keeping you entertained, so that's the point of it. As long as you're having a good life.
If you speak about people who are, so you see, this is how people are just so. If you speak about a trans person or someone who's gay or an LGBTQ person or someone from another race, if you speak about anyone like that, you are automatically classed as transphobic, racist, homophobic. Not at all. We could, just because you speak about people who happen to be in a certain category or a pigeonhole doesn't mean you have an adverse opinion of them. That's just who they are.
Well, you opened this interview with the person that you look up to the most. Who was that?
Graham Farmer.
Yeah.
Polly Farmer.
Yeah.
No, he was an Indigenous man who came from a home in Western Australia, came over here. Self-made man. I was an idol of his. No, he wasn't an idol of mine. I was an idol of his. He was my great inspiration in life. He was a fantastic person. And people say, oh, you don't like Welcome to Country. I said, no, I don't like Welcome to Country, but that's my opinion. I don't think it's necessary. But he was my greatest inspiration in life, an Indigenous man. So it sounds a bit. It just sounds, people don't understand all that.
They don't listen to the bits that they don't want to hear, and
that's right.
There you go. So last thing. So what would you tell your younger self now? If you could go back in time, what would you tell your younger self?
Oh, Kate. If I was going to embark on the same career, I mean, I enjoyed the media. I enjoy the back and forth of people we speak to. I would at one stage, after I'd transgressed and done something wrong on the television, they said we better tape the show because we've been sued, or you've been sued, or we've been suspended, or whatever. And I said I would never do any show that was taped. Yes. I mean, I would, if I had an interview, I'd have to do an interview that was taped, but if I was on a weekly show, I'd never have it taped at all, because there's no risk in that, because you can say anything and they say, oh, you shouldn't have said that, so we'll cut that
boring.
out. It's boring. So no, I probably, no, I don't, people can say, oh, if I had it over again, I would have done it differently.
Not done it differently, but what would you tell yourself if there's something you would have wanted to know that would have helped you get through things a little bit easier? Or
well, I'm not a great business person, a man.
That's a good point.
Not a great businessman. I would probably not back someone at a bank unless I backed someone's business at a bank unless I actually went into the due diligence of what I was doing.
Yes.
I'm careful about some things, but I'm not very careful about others. I make hasty decisions, don't dwell on things too much. And I know this sounds really trite and really just cliched, but you've just got to be yourself. No matter who yourself is, you've got to be yourself, because if you try and fool people, eventually it's like lying. If you tell lies, they'll eventually catch up with you, because you can't remember from one week to another what you said the week before. But if you just are truthful, you don't have to think about what you said, because you're saying what you said, because it's the truth.
Absolutely. So last question, how do you stay fit and healthy? You're in a body that is very fit for your age, and you've had your surgeries.
Yeah.
How do you stay fit and healthy?
Well, I suppose in the end, no, this sounds a bit obvious too, but I suppose it's your genes. It's what your parents give you. My sisters are, my oldest sister is 94, my younger sister's 92.
Gosh.
And I suppose I don't drink anymore.
Yes.
I don't smoke,
Yeah.
but I eat beef-fit food. And I do moderate exercise. I suppose it's just your DNA and who your parents are. I suppose it is. I don't know that really.
You obviously care for your body, though. Yeah.
Well, I care for my body. Everyone has some vanity about them.
Yes.
I don't like to get up and look at myself in the mirror and say, "Wow, look at you." I don't. And I think if you're going out with someone, man, woman, or beast,
yes.
I think you owe the person you go out with to be your best self.
Yes.
Because they might see you when you're in reasonable shape, and then you get a bit complacent and let yourself go a bit, and they say, "Wow, look at you, what's happened to you?" And so that's all a vanity thing. Everyone's got some vanity. I'm not vain so much, but I like to think I like to think I'm in the best shape I can be.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Sam. So
it's a pleasure.
Is Sam Unfiltered. This is the Inspired CEO, and we'll be right back.